Stand last word, work, we don't play. DMV heat coming straight your way. No visit to the 757, we ride. Rusty Byrd got the bullpen live on. The lead run DMC mic hot, game tight. Rusty B and the crew bring the real to the mic. From the field to the court, from the fate to the fun. We talk ball, talk life, yeah, all in.
Hey, this is the last word with Rusty Byrd, and I am blessed to have today a group of legends from Bethel High School, and we are going to be discussing the life of Coach Dennis Kozlowski, Hall of Fame coach at Bethel High School, a legend on the Peninsula District and throughout the state of Virginia, as he was a multi-time high school football state champion and track coach. And I'm just blessed to have some wonderful people that span the legacy of some of the greatest years of Bethel High School athletics, starting from the 70s, the 80s, and 90s. We have championship athletes that led Bethel to some state championships. But we thank you guys for joining us. Let's go ahead on around, and I'd like you to introduce yourself. Tell our audience your name, what year you graduated from Bethel, and what activities or sports you participated in. We'll start with you, Coach William Washington.
William Washington, I graduated in 82, played football, ran track for Coach Koz for my 3 years at Bethel.
Tico Winder.
Yes, Tico Winder, class of 1972. I played football and I played basketball.
All right. Mike Dunn.
Class of 75, football and basketball, and played defense and offense for Coach Koz.
Cool. Thank you. Darren Fullwood.
Darren Fullwood, class of 1986. I played football, ran track, and I was a wrestler.
Cool. Mike London.
Yes, Mike London, class of 1979. I played football for Koz.
Cool. All right, and then the young guy in the group, Kelly Gardner.
How you doing? Kelly Gardner, class of 1992. Primarily football. I did wrestle 1 year. I played soccer my senior year. And I laugh about it. Coach always said, "Got to come out and run track." Then you get out there and he sent me over to the shot put. So, you need to, come get faster. But I didn't know with the fat boys running the fat boy relay or whatever. So I wouldn't say that I definitely was a true track person, but I did throw a little bit of shot. And then my senior year, I was SCA president.
We're going to talk about Coach Koz and his life. And I think some of the things that made Coach Koz the person that he was is his upbringing. And Darren, I know you have a little bit that you can say about that. If you want to hit on a couple of highlights on what made him, he's from Pennsylvania, and we know Pennsylvania is a place much like the Peninsula in that, it's blue collar, some tough people, lot of hard work going on. So Darren, could you let people know a little bit about his background?
Yeah, I'm certain that we all probably don't know a lot about his background, because we knew him as, the coach, the English teacher, the track coach. But just a little bit of things, I think, little highlights and what have you, in his retirement years, he lived in Pocosin. And he, again, was born in Reading, Pennsylvania. Soon thereafter, he moved in with his grandmother in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Coach Koz went to Hazleton High School in 1962, and then he graduated from Frederick Military Academy in 1963. He then went to Frederick College in Portsmouth, Virginia, where he graduated in 1968, at which time he got a job at Bethel High School as an English teacher. I don't think he was the coach in the beginning, but I think he took over as head coach, I believe it was 74, or was it 72 that he took over as the head coach? It was 74, right? Yeah, I think that was the year they won a championship, 74, 76.
74.
Yeah, 74, 76, and 1992.
Tico, could you give us a little bit about those early years?
I came there the second year. Coach Koz was an assistant. The head coach was Bolin Shoup, who went to East Carolina.
Okay, Mr. Shoup.
Yeah.
Shoup was a principal.
Yeah. Shoup was the head coach. Kozlowski was the assistant coach. When I first met Kozlowski, to be honest with you, he was like an animal that needed to be caged. Um, he had just finished playing football in Norfolk. They had a semi-pro team in Norfolk called the Norfolk Neptunes. That team folded. So when he came to Bethel, he still had aspirations of playing football. So he was still like a football player coaching us kids. Okay? When Coach told you something, and back during those days, it's not like it is today. Coaches use a lot of hands-on approach. It was natural for Coach to grab you by your helmet and lead you around the field to show you where you made your mistake. He didn't mince words. If he had something to say, he would say it to you. I can remember one morning, this was during tour days. We had two offensive back, Manuel Mines and Bo Wilson. Something happened between those three that morning, and those two players walked off the field. They quit. So Coach Shute and Coach Kozlowski, we could hear it on the side. They got into it. Coach Shute told them, well, regardless of what you do, you better make sure those two players better be back here in the afternoon. And they were. They were back. Cos did what he had to do to get the players back. But saying that Cos was like a man in a cage, that part is true. And sometimes that part will help you out. Because I remember we played Huntington back in the fall of '69. We went into Huntington High School and beat them on their homecoming. No school has ever done that. No school has ever done that. But there was something eerie. There was something eerie in the air, like something is going to happen here. So the last 1 minute and 47 seconds, a riot, and I mean a riot, broke out where police ended up coming. So anyway, Cars got all the football players on the bus, 2 buses. And I can say that there were at least 3 stop signs that came through the bus windows. Cars also went back to the field, and he got people off of people. There were black people beating up white people downtown Newport News. You had white people running into black people's apartments for safety. And cars would also go into those apartments and pull the people out and get them to a place to where they felt they were safe. And but if it wasn't for cars, a lot of things would have gotten out of order. So if I was in the military, cars would be the man that I would like to be beside me in a manhole, because I know that he would have my back.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
There are other stories that I can get to basketball, but I'll let someone else talk.
Okay. So Mike, Michael Dunn, can you tell us about when Cobb became the head coach and what that was like to then be able to go and win a state championship?
First of all, when I was my junior year, I guess Coach Shute, who was the head coach when I got there my sophomore and junior year, he decided once he became assistant principal, he decided to relinquish football to another coach. Excuse me. And everybody, seemed like it was hands down. I think we had an offensive line coach, Coach Hinkle. Him and Coach Shute was very close. And everybody just figured, Coach Hinkle would be the new head coach. So they had an announcement on the loudspeaker, and the principal, Mr. Gillian, said, anybody interested in football, come to such and such class, and boom. Come to find out, Kozlowski was named the head coach. Now, if you never played for him or ran track for him, you were in for a rude awakening. Because I had the opportunity to play safety my sophomore year. Started as safety. Me and Derwin Tucker, we was sophomores, and we had a great junior high school experience in sports and in academics. But Cos became the head coach, and like I said, I had the experience of being on his side of the ball my sophomore year. His claim to fame then was the track team. And one day we was working out and we see these guys pushing his car. He would put it in neutral and his track team, and they would push that car around that parking lot at Bethel High School. So right then, by me playing defense for him, if you come out here this fall, you better have some thick skin, and he's gonna get in your face. But the thing about him getting in your face, he sees something in you. And don't be intimidated. Don't be intimidated. And I was in a situation my junior year, no, my senior year when Carlos became the head coach, is that we were matched up with two quarterbacks, Joe Breeden and myself. Breeden was behind me my junior year, but we played against each other in junior high school. And Carlos nobody knew, but he had already put together his upcoming offense that fall. And we had to agree, I found out this later, he was going to have two offenses. Joe, naturally, he was a good thrower. I like to run the ball. And we were going to have two offenses, but Joe Breeden came out and said that he never got a fair shot at Bethel. Mike Smith needed a quarterback. And so he ended up transferring. He decided to enroll at Hampton High School. And so that sort of threw Carr's initial football debut as a head coach. It threw it for a loop. And I probably was one of the only people that knew what his intentions were. But one of the craziest things that Carr did, we scrimmaged Highland Springs and Northview every year. Bethel did. My senior year, we go to Richmond. We play with Highland Springs, and we played very well. But my junior year was the best football team I ever played on at Bethel High School, and we lost to Lafayette with 38 seconds. But that's another day. But Northview comes over.
Did that Lafayette team have Lawrence Taylor?
The next year they had him. But they lost in the state championship that year. But Lawrence came the following year. He might have been playing in the 8th grade or 9th grade, I think, because I played against him in Carolina. But I think that's when he came. But we scrimmaged Northview. And if anybody played for Kozlowski, I don't care if it's Tiddlywinks, marbles, or a scrimmage game. He don't want to lose. We started scrimmaging Northview if I remember, about 2:00 in the afternoon. They must have scored about 100 points. We scored maybe 5 or 6 touchdowns, and it came down to about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And Northview coach kept saying, "Coach, that's enough, that's enough, that's enough." And they finally just walked off the field about 6 o'clock in the evening, got on their bus, so we ready to go home. Cars lined us up at the midfield in Darwin Stadium. And I guess he took it to heart, and we embarrassed him. And we ran sprints after playing for 5 hours. And we ran sprints that night. And a lot of our parents, they got off from work. So, they was witness this. And there was some backlash, calling Mr. Gillian the principal. And it's like, who's this maniac you've hired as a football coach? So the end of that story is just to say is, the thing about Cos, and if you want to be a winner, or if you just want to learn how to be a positive person in the classroom, on the football field, or whatever in your life, he was one of the best teachers to say, never give up. Take that next step. You'll surprise yourself. Because when I used to talk, and I'll end with this, when I used to talk to the junior high school kids, your mind does not know the capability of your body. And I used to tell them that. And every time you work out and you run around the track and you got to run. You say I'm gonna run 7 laps today, and then when that monkey jumps on your back doing the fourth lap in 100-degree weather, you ready to throw in the towel. But your mind says the body will follow me, or the body will say the mind will follow me, and you can get that 6th lap in, that 7th lap in, that 8th lap in. So just he taught us to be positive, and that's one of the best things that I picked up from him.
Yeah, no, Mike, I never heard that story, and Darren can probably collaborate this. Darren, we used to also scrimmage Highland Springs and Northview. Were you still there when we got into a big old fight with Northview, and their fans were, mad? I think my brother actually ran. We started because Coach Koz was mad with how the scrimmage went. He lined us up and had us running up and back 100 yards, and they started laughing at us and coming on the field. And my brother or somebody knocked one of their people over, and oh man, next thing you know, it's fighting, and we hear gunshots and stuff. Were you there, Dan?
I was there. Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny just hearing Brother Dunn talk about those times. Like I said, I just remember so much from you guys where when I was a little leaguer playing for Mallory, and we would go to Darlin Stadium wearing our jerseys and whatnot have you. And I remember the coolest dude I ever saw in my life was from Granger Court named Eric Wallace. And he was a quarterback. And I saw Koz grab that dude by his face mask at the hash mark and drag him from the hash mark to the sideline. And I was like, I gotta get my mind right, Like I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of ball. And then I was an academic dude, right? I ended up being the senior class president and all this stuff. So I definitely had to go to two-a-days. Rusty and his crew, they were summer school boys, so they got to miss the first part of two-a-days. They came in the evening, So I'm out there and we just running 40s. We've running 40s like it's just, that's just what you was born to do. And one day, I wasn't feeling well, and I was just like, man, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this no more. I'm not doing it. And I go to walk off the field, and I started walking in. And, Koz had a rule, you don't walk off that field. And he told everybody to attack. And so the whole team was coming at me, and I got my helmet, I'm swinging, da-da-da-da. But what's funny about that is, I'm sure there's some experiences that we had, and we all have those stories where, if you do that today, that's a second-degree felony, right? But I will tell you, the real dog in me was developed at Bethel High School. Eric Wallace went to the Naval Academy, so I said, if it's good enough for Eric, it's good enough for me. That's where I'm going to school and whatnot. Mike, I know that Damon Wallace went to Duke, and so I was just like, I'm one of these people who I try to repeat, success. And I get to the Naval Academy, I'm a all-state player and all this kind of good stuff. And I walk in there that first day, and they post a depth chart on the door. And I was 6th string. And I'm in disbelief. I didn't even know there was a such thing as a 6th string. You follow me? And, everything in me was like, man, no. Matter of fact, I'm out. I'm going to UVA. I'm done. Right? And because one of my old coaches was there, and but I just remember Koz. I remember you don't walk off the field, you don't quit, blah blah. I remember John Britt, and I said, man, shoot, if I can play against these dudes, if I can play behind these legends that are on this camera, man, I'm putting it to these Idaho boys. I'm putting it to these Nebraska boys. They about to get the business. They about to see what the 757 is all about. And I didn't play at all as a freshman. Not a play. But I used to get up at 4:30 in the morning and run. Right? Because I figured before I could be heard, I had to be before I could be seen, I had to show something. And I said, I'm just going to win the sprints. I am going to win in the fourth quarter. I am going to win the sprints at the fourth quarter of practice, period. That's all I'm going to do. And I came out in the spring, and it was Bethel High School, August 15th, 98-degree heat. And I was like, yeah, y'all get some of this, son. You know what I'm saying? Like that, my whole mindset. And I just say all that to say that is the same attitude I've taken into corporate America. So I owe Kaz a lot, man, because I'm the financial director for Amazon North America. So it's a lot of responsibility. It's a big ass job, you know. And I'm from Hampton, Virginia, Big Bethel Road. You know what I'm trying to say? And so sometimes I'm sitting in that, you know, boardrooms, or, you know, we rocking them, you know, so much money, it's just ridiculous that we, you know, I'm just like, damn. You know what I'm trying to say? This started right here on that field. That's what it is. You know what I'm trying to say? And ironically, my son played for Mike London at William and Mary. You know what I'm saying? My son, big, you know, big as hell. You know what I'm saying? He's 6'4" and some change. He's 270. You know what I'm trying to say? But if I had to get him up at 7:30 to just go out the field and let's get a little workout in, yo, we rumbling. You know what I'm saying? You know, I gotta argue with mama. I gotta argue with, you know, everybody. And so that to me, I cannot put a price tag just in life, football, and other aspects of your body catching up with your mind and your mind controlling your destiny. It is a series of choices. It's a series of accountabilities. And, you know, like I say, I learned that out there on that raggedy field when we would lose, and Kaz and Bouchard and Taylor would turn them lights on in their cars, and we just start running. Like, yo, what are we doing right here? You know? But so I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Let Mike London, why don't you share some of your experiences and thoughts on your experiences at Bethel?
Yeah, wow, man, it was great listening to all that. So I only had a year to play with Cos. My dad was in the Air Force, and it was went to Tab High School, and we were in the Bethel Manor District. And I remember he was retiring, and the coach back then at Tab, Freddie Mitchell, was like, you know, go ahead. He retired. I know you're moving out of the district, but you can come live with me. And I remember Kaz like came to the house, and it was like, this is probably before the transfer portal and all the stuff, like NIL and all that stuff was going on. But I remember Kaz, I was a quarterback then, and Kaz said, you know what, you know how he would, you guys know, he would talk to you with his head, and stuff would come out of his mouth. Projectiles would come out of his mouth. And you have to stare at him and then look at him in his face and stuff like that. But he's like, you know what, London, you know, you can come play quarterback for me. You know, I've had great quarterbacks, and Mike, he used you. He said, Mike Dunn was an All-American. He's one of the greatest, best I've ever had. So I'm like all up in that. Like, I'm gonna go play football at at Bethel High School, and you got an All-American guy, guy playing. And so Dad retires. We move into the Bethel district, right off of Michael's Woods. And so I get there, and Kaz is like, hey, Mike, you're such a good player. I tell you what you could do for this team. Why don't you play tight end? I'm like, what? Play tight end? And then you're such a hard hitter. You're such an athlete. I need you to play linebacker on defense. I was like, Kaz, wait a minute. I was a quarterback at Tab High School. You said you was going to make me a quarterback. And I remember I used to have the little neck pad thing you used to wear when you were put over. I was a quarterback linebacker. I wear the neck pad and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I was like, Alonzo's training day. I got okie doke. Oh no, you didn't. But I remembered that because the thing that he said is, you'll make us a better football team. And I know you want to be a team player. Man, what can you say after that? I mean, it's just one of those things. Yeah. At that time, it's like the Shaun Gales and Ronnie Spruills, Frank Brown, a bunch of guys like that, when I was going through. But I never forgot that he was like, the sum total of what you offered this team is going to make us a better team. Man, so there goes I want to be the guy and stuff like that. Because then later on, my brother Gary played for him. He went to East Carolina after he left Bethel. My brother Paul then played for him. He went to UVA. But one of the things that I always appreciated about Kaz was, like, I've been coaching in college ball for a long time, and a lot of it in the state of Virginia. My home, 757, is where my mom is living. And, we buried my father 2 years ago, military funeral. He was a president of Northampton and all that. But what I remember I've been an assistant coach at William and Mary. I was an assistant at University of Richmond and assistant at UVA. And Cos would always keep calling and say, man, keep it up and talk about different aspects. And then God's blessing, I became the head coach at Richmond, at UVA, and at William and Mary, where I am now. And he still would reach out and call and talk about different things. And it wasn't because I was a head coach now. It was because he knew the London family. He knew my brothers. He knew, again, all the guys that are on this call. He knew those things. And so, yeah, and I know you're asking later on what Cos was in one word or two words. I would say Cos is passionately authentic. He is passionately authentic because he will tell you what he thinks about you and all those things like that. I remember on purpose one time I swallowed a popsicle stick so I wouldn't have to run track, and I told Cos that. So he was like, well, but I still had to keep time. I was a timer and stuff like that. He wouldn't let me get away, but. Just so many great stories, and it's really neat to hear these guys, and it's kind of hear what Cos meant to them, because passionately authentic is what I say about them.
Yo, that is great. That's great. Coach Washington, you played and coached with him.
I listened to these guys and Chico and Mike Dunn and all those guys. I grew up in the Granger Court area, like most of these guys. And I played with Shaun, Gayle, but what I get from all of this, and I coached at Kickertan track for like 30 years. And there is a bond. If you have not played for Cos, if you didn't go through that experience, you don't understand it. We can talk about it, but we went through that. Yeah. And to hear these guys, we all have a connection. It's a bond, no matter where you go, no matter what age group. London would come to Kickertan or different schools and recruit, and you had a connection to him because he was a Bethel guy, because he was one of Cos's guys. Mm-hmm. You learned to get that bond from Dennis Kozlowski. Yeah. It was like the coaches forced you guys to be a family. They didn't care if you liked them. Wasn't their goal. Their goal was to make you bond so you could be better. I don't know if any of you guys got the book, but I came along a time where we were forced to read in the summertime a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Dream it, think it, and it will occur. That is something that I have taken through my whole life. The ups, the downs, the challenges. Thinking about that positive growth. Thinking about seeing it, that I want to be here. I need to make this happen. I've taught it to my children. I coached for a long time. Sent a lot of kids to college. Football kids, track kids, sent a lot of kids to college. And that has always been a go-to for me. And that's a direct function of what Dennis Kozlowski poured into me. He was a guy, and I'm going to tell this one story because I know we're going to get to the stories. We didn't have a lot of money. And we traveled. We went to the Penn Relays. I was on that team that went to Moeller, Ohio. We went to New York. We went to Florida. All of that. And not one time did he say, hey, tell your mama to send money. Hey, you got to have X amount of dollars. We didn't know where it came from. All we knew was he took care of us. There was a price to pay, but he took care of us when we were out there.
Yes.
And as I coached and I worked with a lot of different kids, that always stayed with me. And that is what I was most thankful for about Cos. Is because he never saw the issue or the problem. He always saw how to get to that end result.
Yeah. Thank you. Good stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Kelly.
Yes, sir. It's interesting to hear some of the same traditions apparently that took place in the 70s and 80s and it was still there. Like,
right.
I had teammates quit in the middle of the practice, and man, just like you said, you don't. If you're gonna quit, you better finish practice and just don't come back. Because if you quit during practice, and so I mean, as soon as it said, I was like, damn, he did that back then too. And so I'm a high school administrator right now. I've been over athletics for Prince William County Public Schools as the entire school division, as the supervisor for student activities and athletics. And I can honestly say it's a shame that I will say that where we're at today, and probably has been this way since I've been started in 2001. And I've said since day one, I said, all the legendary coaches, all the coaches that we're putting into the Hall of Fame, all the coaches that we revere and highly respected, the coaches that have, thousands of people coming back for their celebrations of life and so forth. Your Kozlowski, your Mike Smith, in particular, Richard McPhee up here in Richmond and stuff. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Kos would get fired on day one. Day one in today's world, he would not, and he probably would be criminally charged. And I'm not making that up. And it's sad because my experiences, like, don't get me wrong, and we probably all do. As much admiration and respect that I have for Kos is because in my daily life, when things get challenging, I've been through trials and tribulations. In the back of my head, God damn it, are you a selfish ass? You know what I mean? And it's just like nonstop, and it keeps me going. It keeps me going. Him and Coach Joe Taylor from Hampton, the mental toughness and the like I said, the psycho-cybernetics. And I'm gonna give you this quick story. If you look at my background picture right there, that's my son, and he won the national championship for BMX. He was number 1 in the country for 2 years in a row. And I remember talking to my son about psycho-cybernetics. I'm like, yo, Dallas, you got to envision yourself winning. When you get into that gate, no matter what, I don't care who you racing, you envision yourself winning. You say, I'm going to win. And I said, when you go to bed at night, you dream about winning. You see yourself on the track, going through the whole thing, winning. And I even bought him a number plate. So in BMX, the plates that you're looking for is like a gray plate with a white number. That means you're nationally ranked, and they only give 20 of them in the country. And I was like, I bought him a gray plate with a number 1 and mounted it on his ceiling above his bed. So when he goes to bed at night, I said, here's a notepad every night. Right, I'm going to win the national championship. I'm going to win the national championship. He said, you got to write that 10 times every night before you go to bed. And you think about yourself 3 or 4 races every night winning. And, and he's like, Dad, he was like, this is stupid. There's no such thing as psycho-cybernetics. I was like, all right, I don't care what you think, you're going to do it. And then he won the national championship. And I was able to tie in, Coach Kos into my son's life with that right there, and how instrumental, honestly, stuff like psycho-cybernetics and mental toughness and intestinal fortitude and stick-to-itiveness and never giving up. And, so regardless of where people feel about any specifically football coaching or so forth, the one thing that can't nobody ever take away from that man is what he prepared you for mentally to accomplish, not just in athletics, but more importantly, off the field. So, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'll just say my little piece in that. I originally grew up off Shore Road for a couple of years. Then my parents moved into a house in Lee Heights across the street from Robert E. Lee. And then my parents got separated, and we moved over to Armstead Apartments. All along, every place we lived, I was going to be a Hampton Crabber. So I'm looking up to all these Crabbers, but I knew Bethel was solid. So going through the 70s, and then my mom, we moved to Denby for like 2 years, and then she was finally getting herself together, and she said, "I'm looking to buy a house," and she found one in Warwick's Zone. And my brother and I cried. We said, "No, Ma, we do not. If we move from Newport News, you got to move to a Hampton or the Bethel Zone." And the best house she could have bought at the best price, she did not buy. She found a house in Northampton and made sure her babies were going to go to Hampton or Bethel. And we went to Bethel. And it was, I just knew of the greatness of Hampton and Bethel. As a kid, I'm going to the Hampton Bethel game. I'm watching you guys. And it didn't matter who it was going to be, Hampton or Bethel. But I remember living across from Lee Heights and going to the Lindsay football games. My stepdad was a coach at Buckrow And at Jones, he was a football coach, basketball coach, and he coached at Phoebus. So I remember going and watching him. His name is Bland Lewis, Coach Lewis, y'all, Lewis Driving School. You might have heard of it if you're on the peninsula. Coached at Sims and everything. But he I just knew that I wanted to be one of those guys. And I remember, I actually was getting prepared. So we finally moved over there in middle school, and I played football for what was a great precursor for Bethel. I played for Northampton for Coach Inco. And I didn't know his history or his background. I just knew this man was hard on me. He just was. But I'm telling you, man, I earned a starting spot because in Newport News, I was dominating people. I came to Northampton. I thought it'd be the same. And, man, it was so much talent. And Northampton back then was a combination of, because Mallory had folded, with like Mallory, Aberdeen, Eaton, everybody, the best everybody. You might have been the star running back at Mallory, but you had to compete with other people that had been great. And then I was just able to play and get in there. And then that was 1 year, but we played a championship game in Darling Stadium. And, man, that was the greatest feeling, man. That was the greatest feeling, to be there on a night with the under the lights playing. I think we played Doxy Jordan and Fox Hill. And, man, and the very next year I played at Bethel, and I had looked up to the Inco brothers and Coach Inco. And the next year I'm playing with Fullwood. I'm playing with the Inco brothers, and moved up eventually to varsity in that 10th grade year. And the thing that kind of sticks out to me is when you talk about, because some people here I know have played Greek organizations. I happen to pledge the best one. Alpha Phi fraternity.
Oh,
Alpha. No, Kelly, you know. Mike
hey,
Wilson,
I thought you.
No. So y'all know. So listen. So
you said Lake Braddock. Your wife came from
this fraternity. But let me just say this.
There's no need to respond, Kelly. No need to respond.
Come on. But I will say this. Pledging was nothing after 2 days. I'm telling you. Pledging, and it was hard, because I being a 90, the last year you could walk a line, it was hard. But after 2 days, and that 2 days that we used to go through, the summer workouts, guys, we are a fraternity. We are in a fraternity. Anybody that played football or ran track at Bethel, nobody else knows and can experience. Like, I didn't have to be there with Kelly and Allen Iverson to know that they went through what we went through. I wasn't there with Mike Dunn. I wasn't there with you, William. But I know we all went through something that made us better and stronger. And I didn't understand it at the time. The last thing I'm gonna say is this. Those times when I thought it was tough, and I'm telling you, I wanted to quit. But I was like, man, I can't quit, man. No, I saw guys quit, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stick through this. And it was the best thing I feel like I could have ever done, because it gave me confidence. Much like Darren Fullwood, man, I'm a senior official at the U.S. Department of State, and I've been in meetings with Condoleezza Rice, Hillary Clinton, and I'm gonna tell y'all, man, other people be like, it's crazy when the Secretary of State or somebody walks and everybody's like, oh, and I'm like, I mean, that's just Marco Rubio to me. I said, dog, in my phone, I got Mike London. Dog, in my phone, I got Darren Fullwood. I can hit people up, okay? Plays ball with Allen Iverson over at Aberdeen and at Langley. Like, oh, man, Rubio don't impress me. And I tell you, I'm confident in those meetings because of the things that we went through. And I got to tell you, man, I just felt blessed to have experienced the things I went through, and the brotherhood, the relationship I have from those experiences. And then the last thing I'll say is this: I never coached at some of the levels you guys have, but and I said this on my Facebook post. My senior year, I was in cooperative education. I was in COE. And so I was in school half the day, and in the afternoons, I had a job. Now, during football season, I couldn't start that job. So what I did was they found a job for me working for Coach Koz. And my job was I would go to Coach Koz's office, or his office, or the training room, and he had me looking at film. And my job was to break down the film. that's what I did for 2 hours until practice started. And I had to take notes, and I had to, he was saying, count, how does this guy, the formations, and where's the blitz coming, all this stuff. And then he would also have me take film. Back then we had to trade film. So I remember taking the film and driving to Lafayette during the day, getting their film and bringing it back. But at the time I didn't understand Coach Koz, but I found myself years later when I started coaching youth football, my son's team, or middle school. I was at Benton. I won a championship at Benton, Kelly. All right. And you realizing the things that he did that I didn't understand or didn't like, I was doing those same things. Coach like Coach Koz, when it was scaled back, I couldn't grab anybody's face mask, and I couldn't curse quite the same. But I was in those kids, but the thing I think that I made sure was, as much as I might have got on somebody, I let them know how much I cared about them. And the thing I would say about Coach Koz is I didn't appreciate how much he really cared about me and all of us until later. But I was thankful to be able to tell him that later. But just, I think all of us have some type of story like that. But I ended up coaching like the man, him and Coach Inko. I ended up coaching just like him and had a lot of success. I had to tone it down a bit, but I was blessed to be able to have those experiences. So guys, that I think we all have those things. Again, for those that don't understand it, anybody here, like I said this on Facebook, Coach Koz carried himself. I remember hearing the legend of Coach Koz, but when I got there, I remember, I had gone through the summer and two-a-days, but the thing that struck me, man, was my first day in high school in 10th grade when I saw Coach Koz walking them halls with a tie, dress pants, and them shoes. And I was like, yo!
Hey, so I got a quick question for the 70s and 80s guys. Was he rocking Jaquar back then too?
Nah. He got hush puppies. No, he had the coach's shoes on, them black shoes that coaches on the sideline would wear. And he
I'm talking about Jaquar Cologne. He was.
No.
He used to wear that Jaquar Cologne.
Yeah.
The Jaquar Cologne. Yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all, man, and we can go into the stories now, or you can talk about. But the thing again, I respected is, and Kelly, you notice the leader of athletic administration, Coach Koz was the head coach for football, for indoor, outdoor track, and he was also an English teacher and the athletic director. Right now, you can work in a high school, and your only job is to be an athletic director. That's it. That's your job. But that man wore all those hats and was great at it.
Let me slow you guys down. Coach Koz was not actually the head track coach. Coach Al Inslee was the head track coach. Coach Koz ran everything, but Coach Al Inslee was the head track coach. And people don't know that because Coach Inslee was in the background. Coach Al Inslee was in the background. And he really didn't do it. He coached, he did it, but Koz ran everything. It was a balance that they struck. But Coach Al Inslee was the head. He was actually on paper the head coach. Coach Koz was his assistant, but he ran everything.
Yeah, but we talk about Koz and track. Let me tell you an incident that happened to me. I've never ran track in my life, except for elementary school. And I'm in the 10th grade, and when the track, my brother threw the shot put, he was number 1 in the state for 2 years. And anytime we play, we have track meets against Minchville, Ferguson. Those are top dogs. Bethel, Ferguson, and Minchville is going to win the district. And those field events points sometimes is the do or die. I'm in my sixth period. And one of the track guys came into my 6th grade period, Calvin Randolph, and told my teacher that Coach Koz wanted to talk to Mike Dunn. So I was like, okay. When I played football for him, I played safety my sophomore year. And I go down to his office or his classroom, and he said, Mike, I need you to go outside with Calvin Randolph. He's going to show you something. He had Calvin to show me how to jump, long jump, which I saw on TV. That seemed easy enough. Also, triple jump. Now was it hop, skip, and jump or whatever they called it. I had never ran track in my life. And he must have saw something in me. And I dressed out for this track meet. I think I placed second in the long jump. And the triple jump, I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And I scratched, what you get about 2 or 3 jumps. And I scratched the first 2 because my feet was going one way and my head was going the other way. And the last jump, I made it to the finals. And I ended up winning that meet in the triple jump. And I'm like, I hope I don't do this again. And I never ran track. And he took me to the Magruder relays. And just like Wash was saying, Cars took that track team everywhere. And when I was at Duke, I'm watching TV one night, and they said Bethel High School's playing Moeller in Cincinnati, Ohio. And Moeller was like one of the top high schools in the country. Yeah. And I want to say this, I've been writing down notes and what some people were saying. And just like one of the guys, I don't know if it's Derwin, but when he was saying about his son, if I'm not wrong, what I did my senior year, I read the book and I got a list. Things that I wanted to accomplish my senior year on the football team. And when I opened my locker every day, I want to be first team district. I want to be first team regional. I want to be all state. And I want to win the state championship. And I looked at that every single day. And just like Cos, when they say you get in his face, you grab the face mask. Nowadays, you can't do that. When I used to screw up at the quarterback because he gave me some attitude. And I checked off a few plays. Some of them was good, some of them was bad. So the bad ones, when I see him coming at me, I ran the other way. I had no problem running from him, but it didn't happen that much. But then, but it's just the confidence he have in the individual, and he'll bring it out you. He'll bring it out you, and it was the best thing that I ever did my senior year when I put those goals in my locker, and I saw them each and every day. Nothing could stop me. Nothing can stop me. And that team I played in my senior year, like I said, my junior year was the best team I played on at Bethel High School. But my senior, we had a connection. And it was like 7 of 8 of us. Every Saturday after Friday night games, we'd come to my house, Derwin Tucker's house, Bobby Rash house, somebody's house. We'd have breakfast. We'll go and go see the JV team play. And if there's a game in Todd Stadium on Saturday nights, we were a very, very close-knit team. And that's one thing I will take to my grave. There was nothing we wouldn't do for each other. And Carl saw that in a group of us. And he had no problem singing us out in the film room or on the field. And he said, well, I know this sophomore guy here or this junior guy, he's close to Mike Dunn, but I can't jump on him. But he's got potential, so he'll pull me to the side and say, Mike, take him to Burger King. Whoppers 99 cents. Here's $1. Y'all sit over there after practice and talk to him, you know. And I'm telling you, if you play for him, you better strap it up. Yeah. But the end result, after 10 games or whatever, every week you're cussing cars out. But when that 10th game is over, you done beat Hampton High, and you turn over your shoulder and look, it's all worth it. It's all worth it.
Yeah, you know? No doubt.
You talking about beating Hampton High, that is something that I did not do at Bethel. That was the only thing I wanted to do, to beat Hampton High in football. It didn't happen in football, no problem in basketball. But my junior year, this was the year of 1970-71, the basketball team at this time was 12-2. This was the best basketball team at Bethel, where I'd only been there for 3 years, before the Iverson era. We had a coach named Louis Shackelford. For some reason, In January, Shackelford had to go down to Florida. He wanted to become a major league umpire. So he went to Florida, and they left Cars in charge of the basketball team. So, like I said, we were 12-2 at the time. Cars had this rule that during introduction, when they call out your name, he wanted you to sprint as hard as you could out to the center court line. We said, Coach Cars, this is basketball. When they call your name out, you trot out. He said, well, if you trot out, you could be sitting on the bench beside me. So he said, when they call your name out, you sprint to the center court line. So that's what we had to do if we wanted to play. So I thought we looked kind of crazy running out there, sprinting out there. But anyway, we were getting ready for the Peninsula District tournament, which was held at the Coliseum. We were just finished practicing. We was getting ready to go to the bus. And these ladies that were cooking the popcorn gave like four of us, free bags of popcorn. So Carl got on the bus. Where you guys get that popcorn from? We said the young ladies gave it to us. Coach Cars, I don't know why, but he honestly believed that we had stole the popcorn. We said, no, Coach, we did not steal the popcorn. The young ladies gave us the popcorn. So 3 of us that was eating the popcorn were starters. Coach Cars, we were going to play Carver. We had already beaten Carver at Carver early in the season, so we were going to play them the first round of the tournament. Cars set the guys down that was eating the popcorn and didn't start us. 3 of us didn't play. Myself, Honor Outlaw, and Gordon Everett. He set us down on the bench. We did not get into the game until the middle of the third quarter. My father, who was, I had a father that was not like most fathers. My father came to every football practice. My father came to every basketball practice. He used to come to so many practices that I was ashamed. And most of the guys used to laugh and joke at me because my parents used to come to practice. But as I got older, I found out, hey, that's love. Your parents love you. Hey, they come to see what you're doing. Anyway, during that game that we were losing in the Coliseum, my father happened to walk down to the bench and ask Cos, why isn't my son in the game? Put my son in the game. Well, Cos ignored him. Police walked over there, escorted my father back up to the stands. But that was something that Cos did that I was really, really upset about. I was so upset that after Charles Johnson left his senior year, I was the fastest in the school. I was the fastest in the 100, and I was fastest in the 220. I refused to run track for him. And he asked me twice to rethink the situation and come out and run track for him. And I didn't do it. So I go to junior college. I go to Hutchinson Junior College. My coach is a legendary Hall of Fame coach, Gene Cady, who ended up coaching at Purdue. He coached me at Hutchinson Junior College. I was All-American my freshman year. He told me, because that was still on my mind, especially after my father died, right after my freshman year. He told me about the situation that I had with cars and asked me time and time again, why did you not run track when it was in your heart? Because I did run track in junior college. And I told him because I felt like I was being challenged. He said, well, when you have a coach and you have a disagreement with the coach, you are not being challenged. He is the person that's in charge. He's supposed to be the disciplinarian in that field or in that particular manner of what was going on. So you should have tried to come to an equal agreement with him. You know, in other words, if running track was in your heart, you should have done that. You should have sat down and been able to compromise. And that was one thing I didn't do. And I saw Cos the next summer, because he ran the gym during the summer. He played basketball all the time. And that's when we finally had a chance to talk about it. And he told me how bad he wanted me to be out there running track. And I also gave him my reason why I was so upset. I said, Coach, you got guys that want to go to college to play basketball, and you sitting us down when scouts could be in the stands, and we don't get a chance to play. So we just exchanged words, and I understood by what he was saying that, you know, when the coach is in charge, the majority of the time, it is the coach rules that we are going to go by, or his ruling or thinking that we're going to go by. So I accepted that. You know, I accepted it, but I was still a little upset about the way it was done, because on the bottom line, we did not steal the popcorn. And I told him that, and that's the way it ended.
Hey, Coach Linden, how would it work if a parent came down out of the stands at William & Mary and said, why is my kid playing?
Security. You know what?
Oh, man.
What's crazy, I listened to the story, but like Kaz's assistant coaches too were really good. You know, and when you're a good coach, you have good assistants with you that buy into your culture and things like that. When I was playing, like Skip Bouchard was there, but also Charlie Brown. I don't think if you guys remember Charlie.
Oh yeah.
So when I came from Tab, I was like Denzel Washington, 6'2", 180 pounds. And so when they moved me to tight end and linebacker, because Kaz always had a way of trying to deal with the mental part too. Charlie Brown nicknamed me Fat Boy. I'm like, what? I think he tried to piss me off, you know, because I was moved from quarterback to tight end to linebacker. And he said, what's up, Fat Boy? And then eventually I figured out that it was the mental toughness approach. It's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. You and we develop you develop a so what now what mentality playing for Kaz and those guys. It's like stuff happens. What are you going to do? And so I've never forgot that even this day, just the nickname being Fat Boy. But at first, as a young man, you're all mad and you don't understand the reason why. But as it was just been stated, that then we live forward and we learn backwards. Like I always use the example now, like you look at a FedEx sign, the FedEx, you ask your guys, hey, can you see the arrow in FedEx? They're like, what you talking about? Can I see an arrow? Look between the E and the X, and you see an arrow pointing. So what I learned from Kaz and my brother Gary and Paul playing was like he'd do some stuff or say some stuff that's just testing your fortitude and and all those things like that. But then eventually it's that aha moment, like, yeah, I see the arrow. Oh, I got it, coach. And so that was pretty neat to watch, even being a college coach, going back to talking to him about those lessons that everyone has made alluded to in terms of being around him, but also being around assistant coaches. I thought was pretty neat as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mike. That he had some amazing assistant coaches throughout the years. People that I thought it sometimes was also good because it would be like a good cop, bad cop sometimes. Cars might get on you, the other guy come over here, and then next thing that guy's getting on you, and Cars never really put his arm around you and said this, but they work together very well, very, very well. I will say this also, Tico, you talk about basketball. I remember that first summer working out, before two-a-days, just getting ready for two-a-days in the summer and stuff, and going in the gym afterwards and seeing this dude who back then I thought was 50 years old. Coach Cobb was in his 30s at the time, but that brother could ball. He had game, man. He was, man, I'll never forget getting there, Darren, and I was like watching Coach Cos and Creighton and Comenius play basketball. was like, yo, this 6'5", 300-pound guy, and this who I thought was a 60-year-old white guy was balling. And I was like, yo, those were some competitive games in the summer, y'all. Those guys were balling back then.
You got to think about that '92 championship. I was in the military at that time, and I got stationed in Norfolk, and I ended up being a tutor for the SAT for the football team. And so Allen Iverson was one of my students. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not going to say that I did a decent job, but hey, the rest of it turned out pretty well. But I believe that guys of the '80s prepared cause for the changing of young men that occurred in the '90s. And what I mean by that, like I said, I was conditioned and mentally prepared for some face grabbing and, the proverbial foot to butt as you're walking to the sideline. That was my mental and whatnot have you. And I remember being in practice in 1984, and Cos grabbed John Britt by the face mask. And John Britt was an absolute 100% dog, period, all stop, right? And John wasn't backing down. He didn't back down not one bit. And that was the first time I'd ever seen a live human stand up to Kozlowski. And I just noticed over those years, from the middle '80s to right there, my younger brother, Troy, graduated from Bethel, I think in 1990. I saw a distinct change in how he dealt with disciplinary issues. That it changed right before my eyes. Like I said, I saw it in my younger brother, and I say that to say because when Alan was there, and then Kelly, you probably can give us more insight here. But when Alan was there, he was doing stuff like skipping practice and all that stuff. What got you put off the team in 1986. And I think he became a little bit more tolerant, and he kind of started to adjust just a little bit, not much, but I do think he started to come into the millennium and recognize that he wasn't dealing with Mike Dunn, and Tico, what I'm trying to say. So, I think that that middle group, I call us the middle passage crew, we kind of had him go from a '70s mentality, which was, if you got in trouble on the field, not only did you get balled out by Cos, but your daddy probably got you when you got home. You follow what I'm trying to say? Like, why that man had to do that? It wasn't one of them situations where dad went and said, "Coach, why you grab my son?" It was da-da-da. By the time the '90s came along, it seemed like there were some parents-coach conferences. You know what I'm saying? So, Kelly, I blame y'all for the demise.
Nah, man. Because he was still grabbing face masks with us. He was still, and truthfully, Chuck didn't skip practice when I was there. Now, he missed summer workouts. He did not 2 days, but the summer workouts because he was out there with AAU and basketball, and Cos did excuse that. But actual practices, Chuck was at practice.
Practice.
Now, I do believe our principal came in after Tom Bailey. Tom Bailey left. And the principal, I think Dave Pearson, which is the one that ultimately I think got Cos out of there. I do believe there probably was some changes and some shifts that took place very quickly then, which would have been probably mid to late '90s. But Tom Bailey, I always felt like he kind of gave Cos free reign because now the laws changed a lot while I was in school too. Because I know my first year or two, I remember times we didn't get no water break because Cos was pissed. And then the law changed where a player had to have water whenever, there was an actual law. And he did abide by the law, you know what I mean? So that was definitely some changes that took place. But man, I can tell you what, I remember being in 8th grade and JV used to be, y'all probably remember this, JV ain't get out of practice before varsity. And if they did, you better hurry the hell up, get your stuff out the locker room and go to work. Shower, don't worry about none of that. Don't pass, go, just go. Because if the varsity players got in there before, the lights went out. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh snap! So I remember that. And then, my freshman year, I was kind of fortunate to be on the varsity roster. I didn't really play. I went and got dressed and sat on the sidelines all night. They didn't go play Saturday morning, but which was kind of a pain, but it was also a privilege. But no, man, I think that might have changed right after Tom Bailey left, because Cos was still, man. We beat Denby was real good one year. In the middle of the year, they were undefeated, and they had stuff in the paper about like they were, pretty every week. Denby was hurting players. I don't think it was intentional. They just had some jokers that was hitting, and they were undefeated, and it was their homecoming. We beat them. I think it was 16-0 at Todd Stadium, and man, we was hyped. I mean, because it was like everybody wrote us off to lose that game and this and that, and we won. And I think it was 12 seconds left, and I came in with my junior year, senior. I wish I could remember either Robbie Robinson was the quarterback or Paul London. And Mike, maybe you can ask Paul. With like 12 seconds left in the game, man. We won. The game was over. We had the ball. We was out on the field, and the music over the stadium music started playing the electric slide. The electric slide was popular at the time. And, man, we started doing the electric slide on the field with 12 seconds left. Kyle ain't say nothing. He ain't say nothing. We get back to the school. We all hyped. You know how it is. You ready to get off the bus, get in the locker room. You're already halfway naked because you trying to go get with your shorty or whatever. People waiting out in the parking lot for you. Kyle's had that damn bus driver drive the bus to the field, get us off in the end zone, and put us on the line and ran the dog shit out of us for probably about a good 30 minutes. Never in all my life have I ever been so embarrassed by the lack of sportsmanship. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, we just won. And yeah, so Todd was still crazy, in the 90s too, the early 90s at least.
Well, can I chime in a little bit on the change from Cos? No disrespect for you guys in the late 80s and 90s, but when I played in the years before, the talent pool was so deep that if you missed a practice, you lost your job and you barely could get back on the field. Now, as the time went on, you had to kind of ease the guys back in because this is what you had. Your players started going to different schools and all that type stuff. But when we came up from the Aberdeen area and all back up in there, you missed a day of practice. You didn't get back on the field. I remember my mother said, "You got a doctor's appointment. When is it?" She said, "Well, it's at during practice time." "No, ma'am. Mama, you got to change it. I'll go miss school before I miss practice," because the talent pool was so deep. If you got moved out, that next guy was as good as you, and you didn't get back on the field. So no disrespect. He switched because he had to keep players. He didn't care if you kept players back in the old day.
Hey, guys had a. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Kaz actually had a sense of humor too, because this is kind of a funny one. Just like you said, man, I was sick, man. I had like a stomach bug or something, but I still went to practice. I ain't gonna lie. My mom wrote a note and and talking about Coach Kaz, please excuse Kelly from practice. He's diarrhea and whatever. Kaz was like, "Horseshit. Go get dressed and get out on the field." So I did what I was told to do. And you know how at the beginning of practice, Kaz used to be like on your feet, like when you're doing this calisthenics and stuff, and make it jump up real quick and then get back down, back down, get up. And man, I jumped up and I ain't gonna lie, I shit myself. And so I ain't sit back down. So when he told everybody get back down, I stood up. So he come over to me fussing out there, I kind of like, "Coach, I told you, man, I shit myself." And he had this look, and I think he felt bad. He was like, "Oh, go inside, get yourself cleaned up." So I'm pissed and embarrassed. So I go inside, and you know where his office was? I left my shitty girdle and pants right in front of his door. Left it right and clean it. And that was in the morning 2-a-day practice. The afternoon 2-a-day practice, I go out on the field, and this joker, Cousin, bought hundreds of rolls of toilet paper and set them on that little section of bleachers, that little teeny thing of bleachers beside the track. I bet you it was 100, 200 rolls of toilet paper. He had all of it with a big banner reserved for Kelly Garden.
Yeah, but if I could hello?
So, okay, we're going to do this. I want to do this. Everybody, we're going to need to wrap this up. These are great stories. So everybody, I'm going to give you each person 5 minutes. Give your best whatever. It can be funny. It can be serious. But any experience that you want to share with our audience. So we'll go with you, Mike. 5 minutes.
Still, first of all, I am a great fan of Mike London. I've never met him. When he got the head coach job in Virginia, I got to meet this guy. And then, the way things went, he became a coach at Howard University when I was living in Northern Virginia, in D.C. area. I still didn't get to see the brother. But then he came to William & Mary, and I was dating a young lady that was there at William & Mary. And I don't care what they say, Mike London, I still need to meet you. Because
We'll make that happen, Mike. That's
you can
gonna
leave
happen.
me some tickets. You can leave me some tickets for some games this year.
I know a guy to know a guy. You in, baby.
Okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. But first, for this session, man, it really means a lot to me being back home in the 757. Talking about Coach Koz, you got to have thick skin. But the thing that I remember the most of my senior year, his first year, when you go try out for Bethel, everybody wanted to wear that green and gold. So it's 150 people out there. Kozlowski, after that first morning practice, what is about 50 left? But one thing he instilled in us, and I think we did it ourselves. We wanted to win because we lost that game to Lafayette with 38 seconds left, and we're saying that shit is never going to happen again. I did on my watch, and that's why I put my goals in my locker so I can see it every day, and at the bottom of my head, and they beat Lafayette's ass on their homecoming like they did us. But I just wanted to say to all of you guys, all of you touch my heart from afar. And close by, Tico Wanda knows how I feel about him. Mike London, I've never got a chance to tell him how proud I am of him. I mean, we both were in a situation. He's at Virginia, I'm at Duke. We went through. We was at the top of the chain in our coaching and academic lives. So I really have I praise for you, Mike. And one day our paths will cross. The only other thing I gotta say about Kozlowski, rest in peace. He put his foot in my ass because he always said, Mike Dunn, you are the leader. And he suspended me the first half for a Denby game because we had to win out to go to the playoffs. And we had an argument, and I cursed him out at the film room. We lost the tab, and I was the punter, and I was supposed to go through my progression. And they supposed to hit and peel. Well, when I looked up, the whole tab defense was on me. So I'm trying to make something happen. And Koz called me out. And my competitiveness came out and cussed at him. He cussed at me. And the team, you could hear a mouse piss on cotton. And then right before practice, Coach Bouchard came in and said, Mike, Coach Koz wants to see you. You disrespected me in front of the team. You're suspended. We played Denby. My backup, Arthur Armstead, I had nothing but confidence in him. We playing Denby. It's 0-0 at halftime. Koz kept looking at me. He kept looking at me. He put me in the middle of the third quarter. We scored 37 straight points. The rest is history. I love you guys, and I appreciate this time and effort.
Thank you, Mike. Mike. William Washington. Well, your final thoughts.
Well, again, I am so appreciative of you doing this and bringing together different eras because we all share that common bond. And if we're all blessed to see each other at Koz's going away service, that you'll see more of those people and those same bonds exist. That's one of the things you'll always have, no matter where you go in this country, no matter where jobs you take. When somebody say you were a Bruin and you played, that's an automatic bond. I know of everybody that's on this panel. I have met just about everybody. Some of you guys don't remember me, but I remember you guys. The older guys growing up with you, younger guys, I would come to the games and be a part of that bond. And I'm proud of the way we've carried ourselves as Bethel athletes. I don't know if you guys remember, Koz had a green car. And we traveled everywhere in that green car. The green car had a hole in the floor. And you could see the ground passing by. And if you were a rookie on the track team or you were the slowest leg, you had to sit over the hole. And Koz would say, if you don't want to sit over the hole, be better. And that didn't resonate until I got old, because in life, that mythical whole, be better. Again, what I took from Cos was a mentality of, I can do it if I really want to do it. And I have tried to share with a lot of other people and kids. And if I have touched half as many lives as he has touched, developed, and moved forward, there'll be a place for me in heaven, as I know there's a place for him. Thank you.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Darren, would you like to share any last words?
Yeah, it's funny that when you look back at life, certain events, first of all, have such an effect on you and such a imprint to the fabric of your life. And if I had to sum it up for me personally, what I learned from Coach Koz, what I learned from my experiences at Bethel, was that the difficult we do immediately and the impossible just takes a little longer. And, in that regard, I just believe that right there is something that you can't be taught anywhere. Did I in any way, shape, fashion, or form, enjoy the experience? Yeah, I enjoyed the experience with the boys and, being on the team and the girls and all that kind of stuff. But I wasn't a fan of Kozlowski until I had to become a coach and a parent myself. You follow me? I did not have an appreciation for what I was living through. I thought it was wrong. I knew that there had to be a different way, up until I realized that I wish I had more Dennis Kozlowski in me. You follow me? I wish I had more of what he gave me, right? I spent so much time trying to give my kids what I didn't have that I forgot to give them exactly what I did. You follow me? And I can sit here and I can say Coach Koz and those experiences are a part of that. The fraternity known as Bethel High School football. Everywhere I go, I will put the Peninsula District, Bethel High School up against any and everybody. It's just what it is. And I talk about my high school teams more than I talk about my college football team. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just what it is, right? And one day when I come back home, and I'm gonna take brother William Washington out for a drink, and we gonna debate who had the best team, because I'm gonna tell you the 1985 Bruins was something else, boy. That thing was something else. We put like 14 guys in D1 college, yo. So I'm gonna go ahead and run with that for right now. But we gotta thank Coach Koz for that. And it was just a plethora of dudes going D1. You know what I'm saying? So again, thank you guys. We appreciate you. And all we can do is basically carry forward, your doggedness and your ability to give your all for the greater good and lifting as you climbed. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Coach London.
Yeah, man, it's been great to connect with you guys. It's an honor and privilege. But I'm gonna tell you something, Mike. I remember when you left and when you went to Duke, being a quarterback. Back then at those times, man, it comes with a cost, man. Being the first person of color to be at different places and do things, and instead of asking God for a lighter load, sometimes we ask him for a stronger back. And I know during those times right there that it is what it is, First coaching color at Richmond at UVA, and Tony is there now, and here at William & Mary. But it's like, again, I go back to, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. But the thing about Koz, my dad was a military guy. My parents loved him because of what he stood for. And like I said, he was highly authentic, positively, passionately authentic, and would tell you in your face sometimes what you didn't want to hear. But again, it goes back to the so what now what, but I remember this. We are free to make choices, but we are not free to choose the consequences of those choices. And Cos would lay it to you out in front, just like that, whether you accept it or not, but that's just the way it was. So, yeah, we'll miss him.
And that's and intervening. That's one thing I loved about Mike London that I saw from afar. It was stacked against him, but the man is still strong in my eyes, very strong. And I can't wait the day we sit together across from each other and break bread. But I got to go.
Amen.
And my ride is waiting. I got to go to Fayetteville and watch my baby walk across the stage tomorrow and get her mortuary license. And all this time, I tried to get her out of school. She finally did what she wanted to do. I love you guys, and we'll do this again. We'll do this again on a much more pleasant circumstances. But
Absolutely.
still,
I definitely will be having you guys back. Thank you, Mike. I understand you got to run. That's fine. Be safe on the road. Thank you again. Let me just say this, because I'm going to still say my part at the end. But Mike, you might not remember, but I said something when you got inducted into the Bethel Hall of Fame. I said, Mike, I looked up to you and you didn't know it, and I still use you and all of you guys. And I'll say this: I am so proud to be able to say I graduated from Bethel High School, and I'm using all of your names when I say that. Some people may only know Allen Iverson, but before there was an Allen Iverson, there was a Tico Winder. So I just want to say thank you, Mike, for what you meant to me, and you didn't even know me. So thank you. I appreciate you.
And I do remember that. I remember talking to this guy. I couldn't put the face to it. And Richard Hall kept saying, "Hey, don't you remember the dude who played at Bethel? And he gave you that talk." And then when I saw the name and we talked a little bit about today's functions, I said, I remember this young man. So I'm over and out. Love you guys, man.
Thank you.
Okay. Bless you. Be safe.
So, any last thoughts?
Yes. I can remember playing a basketball game. We were playing at Kickerton, and I twisted my ankle, and I could no longer finish the game. Anyway, that Saturday morning, Coach Cos rung my doorbell, 7 o'clock in the morning. And he came to my house, put ice on my ankle, taped my ankle so I could be ready for a Saturday game. We happened to have a Saturday game the next night. And I thought that was out of character for him. But as I look at it later on, that was Coach Cos. Everyone has a hidden agenda or a hidden part of them that they don't always show. And at that time, he was showing me that he cared about me. He wanted me to be ready for the next game. But what I get out of this here, this evening, I'm pleased that I got the opportunity to be on this podcast with some of the top athletes that ever walked through the Bethel High School doors. And to Coach London, I've never met you either, but I was supposed to be there the night that Peninsula former athletes, I'm a part of that group. And from what I understand, Michael Mills and all the guys that's in the group told me about the speech that you gave that night at the Holiday Inn that brought tears to a lot of people's eyes. I wish I was there. And well, Coach London, all I have heard of you is that you were a great guy. Nothing but total respect, clean slate, always there to help someone. And that's something that an old person sometimes can learn from a young person. Sometimes our lives go in different ways, but it's not the way you start your life, it's the way you finish. And if we all could learn from someone else that it's not always about us all the time. It's about the other people that we live in this world. And for Coach Cos, what I take from Coach Cos, what I remember from him is his honesty and his courage. And that's it for me.
Ooh. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say this in closing, and that is that I got to Bethel with that, my first year as a sophomore, with that class of 85 group of athletes. And I tell people all the time, it is amazing. People now talk about, oh, this person's going to be one of this. I'm like, and it's one kid at this school. It's two or three kids at this school, and that's a big deal. The Darren's son played at a powerhouse, a good council, and the WCAC. My son played in the WCAC at Bishop Iverson. And you see a lot of talent, but nothing can compare to what the Peninsula District was in those days. When I get there, and there's two guys in the class of 85 going to UNC. They went on to start at tackle at UNC. So with Carl Watts, creating inconvenience. But then you had all these. You had the Britt brothers. You had who I still thought was one of the greatest defensive backs I've ever seen, and that was Carl Barker, Rodney Howard, Dee Van. I mean, and that was one class. We're not going to talk about the junior. I mean, Forward, Naval Academy. You had Curtis Ponton, a state track champion. You had so much talent. And, I played with Jason Wallace, but I also was on the field with Todd Kelly and my brother Melendez Byrd, and just so many great athletes. And one of the things I realized is that you couldn't get on that field if you didn't have a little dog in you, because they definitely weeded out those that weren't ready. And I was blessed to have, in my junior year, to back up Darren Fullwood at fullback. And I had been a JV quarterback, and Coach Coz asked me if I wanted to play quarterback. I said, no, I think I'd be better off playing running back. But I backed up Darren Fullwood. And the one thing I remember is, no matter how many times we both carried the ball down the field, because we would still be running that option, Coz always took me out when we got the goal line, and he let Darren get a touchdown. It was like, but it was great, man. It was great to be out there. And I still got some film, Darren, where you're number 44, I was 14, and we played fullback. And I was showing my kid a highlight, and he saw me get some big runs, and then you scored a touchdown, but my son didn't know that it was really you. He thought it was me because he saw the 4. Anyway.
Hey, Byrd, can I?
Yes.
Can I want to add y'all's perspective on something, because something that I always felt at Bethel. Again, I came over from the Shell Road area and so forth, but and it really hit me this past week. I work up in Fairfax right now at Hayfield Secondary School. Yep. And then I was working over at Lewis School. They needed some assistance this past week, so I was over at Lewis, which was Robert E. Lee. Went through the name change, which it should have. And I'm looking at team pictures, and I'm looking at team pictures from the early 2000s. There was some from the 90s, and it was like really hitting home to me. Like, I'm looking at team pictures in an area that's crazy diverse. Like, Fairfax is major diverse, right? Way diverse. And I always loved Bethel, because even when I was there and you look at some of the older yearbooks, Bethel was very mixed, white and black. And I think it opened that way. And I'm asking some of y'all as older brothers from Bethel, you know what I'm saying? But, I never felt, and I'm just asking because I think if this is the truth, it really needs to be said about them. I never felt racism coming out of Coz. You know what I mean? And I think, like Mike Dunn, there was a stigma on black quarterbacks historically back in the days. And early in the inception, every quarterback that I played for at Bethel was black. You know what I mean? Everyone. The quarterbacks back with Mike Dunn in the 70s, black. And I think that just personally says something about the man that he was. Regardless, I got some negative feelings too, but I think this is the time to speak about the positive stuff. And I think that should be mentioned about him too. Unless I just saw something, I felt something wrong, and I think y'all would be the perfect ones to tell me over the years. But I think that says a lot about the man. At least what I felt is that he ain't had no problem with that. I never felt like race ever played a part in his decision making, as far as the way he treated people, and the things that he taught me about just being a young man, being a man. I had one foot in the streets and one foot in the attitude and one foot in the personality. You know what I mean? And I can be the first one to say, I know I didn't live up to my potential, and I know that because of him. You know what I mean? Which is another testament to him. But I just wanted to know, because even in 2000s, I'm looking at team pictures. I mean, Bethel's cheerleading squad in 92 had 14 girls on it, 7 black, 7 white. I think that's awesome. I'm looking at pictures up in Fairfax, which is supposed, in this, the east side of Fairfax of that. And the team pictures be 18 people on a team and only 1 black person. And I'm like, man, this is a diverse area. I mean, and I'm just like, and I know this racism was in Hampton. I know that, and I've seen it. I mean, hell, look what Chuck went through the year after I graduated. But I don't feel like it was tied to Bethel in particular. You know what I mean? So I just want to know what y'all's perspective on that, as far as Bethel and the man.
Well, I spent a lot of time with Cos because you had football season, indoor track, outdoor track, then back to the summer workouts.
Right.
And when Cos went through these things with the law and all of that stuff, and people were saying what he was and what he wasn't, I could only tell you how he treated me. Now, I can't tell you how he treated the next man, but I was a little black kid that not one day did I ever feel like he mistreated me because of, now, sometimes I didn't like how he yelled and he screamed and he cursed, but it was across the board. He didn't treat me any differently. And when I needed him, that man was always there. When I graduated from college and came home, he was there for me. He's always treated me, and I can only speak from one black man's perspective. He treated me fair. When I was wrong, he told me. When I was right, he shared it. So I don't think that ever played a role. I can't tell you what he did when he went home, but I can tell you how he treated everybody that I saw him associated with. That was not an issue with Dennis Kozlowski.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we would all agree. Thank you, William. That's a great way of saying it. Does anybody else have anything else they feel like on their heart they want to share? Okay. If not, I want to close this out by saying, again, this is the last word with Rusty Byrd, and all of you provided beautiful last words on your experiences and the things you said about Coach Kozlowski. What I will close with is one thing. I just remember before I even thought I would be good enough to play high school football for Bethel, I had a friend, and some of you might have played with his brother. My friend's Marcus White. His brother was Chris White, graduated in 1981. And I remember Marcus talking about his brother having this. I saw this shirt, and it said the 110 Club.
I love
it. I will close with this. Going into that summer before my first year playing high school football in the 10th grade, I just said it would be amazing if sometime before I graduate, if I could make the 110 Club. And that year, he worked us out that summer. And by the end of the summer, I had, as a sophomore, made the 110 Club. And to this day, that is one of my proudest accomplishments, because I did that alongside people like Darren Fullwood, Dee Dee Van, Rodney Howard. And I would say this, the last word I would leave you with is what Coach Cos demanded, and what he allowed us to put on our chest was that we give 110% at a minimum. So I want to say thank you, Coach Kozlowski. I want to say thank you to all the great men here and so many others, men and women, that he impacted their lives. And so with that, I want to thank you guys once again, but thank you, Coach Cos, for giving us 110%. This has been Rusty Byrd with the last word. We're out.
Thanks again.